The only thing we have to fear is beer itself.
Beer. So many choices.
Only no function beer well without.
Woohoo! Beer!
Hello and welcome to another episode of Beer Busters, where we're going to bring you the news and reviews of some wonderful brews. My name is Dan Baker, as always, joined by my co-host and brewologist,
Steph Hefner.
and our from entertainer,
Wayne Baker.
Now, tonight, we are on location, or today, depending on when you're listening to this. We are out and about on location, and I'm very excited for several reasons. Because one, I didn't have to drive very far. In fact, I left at 5 o'clock and got here by 6. It was beautiful.
Wow.
Actually, I left at 5:30 and got here by 6. It was amazing.
We left right on time and got here right on time.
Yeah, so I heard. But the more important reason that I'm excited is because we are at a place I've been very excited to try, because all of the reviews, not even just from people associated with Beer Busters, for this place are phenomenal, and I'm surprised it's taken me this long to get here. We are on location at Second Story Brewing Company, which is an old city in Philadelphia, which is why it's so close to me. It's 3 miles from my house. But we have with us...
Would you like to give your address to the internet?
Yeah, I live at 123 Fake Street. Yeah, but we have with us Mr.
John Wible.
So, John, thank you for having us out here tonight.
Of course.
I'm very
Thank you
excited
guys
for
for
this.
coming.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be fantastic. We have food on the way. We have beer on the way, and I have an Uber home so I can actually drink, which is fantastic. All right.
Where's 3 miles from here?
It's still in Philly. Yeah, South Philly.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm super close, which is why I'm upset it's taken me this long to get here. But we have a lot in front of us, so let's do this. All right, so I've got nerd news and I have a list. So this is going to be good news. Good news, get it, right? Well, while my iPad loads, I'm going to try to vamp a little bit more. There we go. So just in time for the premiere, which this episode will air after the premiere, but there is a new Game of Thrones beer that is out. This one is going to be Three-Eyed Raven, which is a Belgian-style dark saison ale, which is from Cooperstown, New York-based Ommegang, who has done the entire series so far. It is, according to this article, a hearty, complex brew that should get banners flying. Boasting a malty but light body, shot through with hints of sweetness, herbs and spicy hops. The beer is grounded by what the brewery describes as a pleasant yeastiness. Exactly, yeastiness. It's a dark, rich beer that's also inventive, even deceptively playful, suggesting everything from pepper to fruit under its formidable tan head. Three-Eyed Raven takes its thematic inspiration from the storyline of character Bran Stark, who is played by an actor whose name I can't pronounce. No, actually, this looks pretty easy.
Who is aging out of his role.
Oh, that's not good. I hate when that happens on TV.
Yeah.
It's like, look at
Same thing with Walking Dead with Carl. You notice he doesn't get very much screen time anymore?
Exactly, because he was 9 when it started, and now he's a teenager, and it's weird.
Anyway, beer.
Yeah, beer. No, the character Bran Stark is played by Isaac Hempstead Wright, and the beer may be the closest fans come to seeing Bran this season, which is something, Wayne, I'm sure you will understand, because I still have yet to watch this show, because I'm so far behind the times, apparently. But before the Three-Eyed Raven, other beers out of Ommegang for this were the Blonde Ale, which was Iron Throne, Take the Black Stout, the Spicy Fire, and Blood Red Ale, and then they had the Abbey Double Ale, which was Valar Morghulis.
Yes.
Okay, good, I got that right. So just another one in the series. I'm sure we will find a way to pick up a bottle and try it. If not on the air, then I'll write up a review on it. Why not?
There you go.
I don't do enough of that.
So that means the new season is starting shortly. Don't they usually release the beers like right as the season's coming out?
So,
right.
as of the recording of this episode, the premiere is this Sunday. So the beer was released this week to go along with it.
Right.
In fact, I forget where, but somebody is having a premiere party for it. I forget where it was. The other thing is something I'm very excited for, too, because it is now baseball season. Yay, because I want to forget about hockey season. Yeah. So I think I did this last year, and I know I did it for the NFL. It's a list of the...
Wait, it's a list?
I know, believe it or not.
A list. What's that?
I knew you were going to do that. It is how much the average beer costs at most Major League Baseball stadiums.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Now, one that kind of upsets me is the Philadelphia Phillies are right up top as one of the 3 most expensive for an average of $7.75 per beer at Citizens Bank Park, right up there with Boston Red Sox and the Chicago Cubs, $7.75.
No, the good beers are not $7.75. I usually pay $10 at Fenway.
That's an average, and you're right, not the good ones.
If you read further into that, the per ounce price is actually about ninth in the
Yeah, I did see that.
Right, depends.
Because a beer is like totally, it could be 10, it could be 12, it could be 16 ounces, but the per ounce price was about, I think it was eighth or ninth.
Somewhere around there.
So much, it was like kind of they represented it differently than it actually was.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, as that one, I actually don't have the infographic for that, but I'll make sure we can throw that up on the website then. Instead of going through the whole list, somebody just throw out a team name. The
Colorado Rockies.
Thank you. Colorado Rockies, they are average $6 per beer.
Oakland A's.
Oakland A's, $5.
San Diego Padres.
San Diego Padres, $5.
One of the Canada ones.
Toronto Blue Jays.
Toronto Blue Jays, a little more expensive, $6.79. Now, I don't know if that's American or Canadian
It
dollars.
has to be American, so it's consistent.
More than likely, yeah.
Yeah, you would think.
And the Canadian dollar and the American dollar are
They're
always
pretty
fluctuating.
close.
Yeah, but how about another team? Anybody else?
The Marlins.
Marlins, Miami Marlins, not the Florida Marlins. They are $6.
I think other John has something to say.
Brewers.
The Milwaukee Brewers.
I can't believe nobody said that one yet. $6.
All right.
And then
So who's the cheapest?
cheapest one is a toss-up between the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Cleveland Indians at $4, followed very closely by the Texas Rangers at $4.50.
$4.50.
Yes.
Wow.
But remember,
Who's
everything
that,
is
the
bigger in
Rangers?
Texas. Yes, yeah.
$4.50. That's pretty good.
And then next up would be, actually, the Houston Astros are above that at $5. So it's not consistent across the entire state. So now that we have the news out of the way, like we mentioned earlier, we are on location at Second Story Brewing Company in Old City in Philadelphia. It's right on Chestnut Street. It's a beautiful building. It's a beautiful area, and it's in a building that I've been in before when it wasn't Second Story. It's in the old Triumph building, which, there's a lot of good memories in this building, but now I can say that I've had a beer. I'm trying the IPA right now. It's much better beer than was in this building before, and that's great.
Thank you.
But yeah, we've got John with us here from Second Story. John, thank you for having us out here.
sure.
It's already
Happy
it's
to
a
have you guys
blast. Yeah, man, it's great. And we have a small audience assembled. We're hawking T-shirts over here with the Lone Beer Buster's wife over there, and it's going to be a great night. And so to kind of go into the history of Second Story, when did you guys open? It was fairly recent, right?
Yeah, we opened finally in late October, so I think it was October 20th is the date, about 5 or 6 months ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, really still kind of new, but
Starting to
have a
settle
couple
in.
months under our belt.
Yeah, and everything that I've seen about Second Story so far, it has just been glowing reviews. I mean, 5-star reviews on Yelp from almost everybody. The first month or two you guys were open, I know Thrillist. I'm a huge fan of the website Thrillist. They had you guys listed as like
Everyone knows.
Yes, I know. They had you guys listed as like one of the best burgers in the city, or one of the best new burgers in the city, and the beer was, they had this nice little write-up about it, and recently you guys were listed with them as one of the best tap rooms in the city, was it? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is, tap room sounds to me like a brewery, and if you say that, it's like, oh, there's only 3 brew pubs in Philly, but that list was actually, it was 11 bars and one brew pub, which is us. It was really nice because we were in really good company with that. It was South Philly Tap Room, Standard Tap, like a lot of places that have been around for a while, and like really, I personally really enjoy. So it was nice to be on that.
The Alstrom brothers were in Philly not too long ago, and this was their first stop from the airport too.
Yes, they were here, about a month or two ago. They have like a dog fishing they do every year, and they were staying at the Omni up the street. Came in here for lunch. I showed them the brewery a little bit. They tasted some beers. I think they enjoyed everything. I think they
You
had
got
some
a
pretty
lot of
favorable
positive
reviews.
tweets during that
Yeah.
visit.
Oh,
so.
good. Yeah. I know. I was talking to some brewers. You guys know John Stemler from Free Will?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I saw him right after, just coincidentally right after the Alstrom brothers were here, and he was like, "Oh, you had Beer Advocate," and I was like, it was totally random. They just happened to be staying up the street, but it was very positive for us to have them here.
Yeah, for
'Cause
sure.
it's not, they don't. We're just one brewery of 3,000, and they happened to come in here, which was really great for us because we were super new at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty awesome way to start.
Yeah,
I'll say.
Absolutely.
Now, do you brew the beer yourself, or like have a hand in the recipes here, or?
Yeah, all the beers are mine. I mean,
Yours,
I'm
all
the. I actually have an assistant. Her name is Megan. She's actually here tonight. She'll probably be up in a little while. But the beers are all my recipes.
From homebrew
most of them.
recipes, or?
Most of them Yeah, I mean, we can go down the list. I mean, most of them are homebrew recipes. The IPAs change constantly because of hop availability, what I can get my hands on.
Yeah.
But Vienna Lager, that's something I made at home for a while. 5 Mile Ale. I mean, once we get into these beers, I'll give you a little history on them all. But I'd say 70% are homebrew recipes.
And what got you into homebrewing?
So the year was 2010, I believe. I think it's on this.
Check the notes.
Which is good because I always forget. I was living in Collegeville, Pennsylvania. Which is, not a lot going on there.
Hey, they have a Wegmans, so.
They do a good
Wegmans.
good craft beer. But I was living there, and my girlfriend at the time she had moved to Vancouver, British Columbia, to get her master's. And so she was like really on me about getting a hobby. And guy I worked with, this guy Jason, and I were like, we could make beer at home. That'd be really neat. We didn't know it was a big thing. Like apparently, that's obviously
apparently
a really
it's a
big
thing people do.
Right. We had no idea. We're like, cool. You can make alcohol at home. That's neat. So we Googled like beer making at home or something.
I'm just imagining like the clouds parting and like you just seeing this emerald city of homebrewing. Like, oh my god, I never knew this was here.
That's called Keystone Homebrew. in Montgomery.
So that was the
That's the
closest
Emerald
place.
City.
So we went up there, and it was back when it was the old Keystone, which I don't know if you're all familiar with. It was the size of like this room we're in, but they have everything. And even when it was that small, they had everything. And we talked to actually John Stemler was working there at the time. Freewheel wasn't around yet, and I remember him, working there and being really helpful and just like showing us what we need to do. And here's the starter kit. Here's this. Here's that. And he made a pumpkin ale that weekend. And it turned out good. It was a nice beer, but there was pumpkin in every bottle, about an inch worth of pumpkin. And it's not good for your intestines to drink that. So my friends would drink it, and they were like, "Oh, this is great." And the next day, they're like, "Dude, what'd you put in that beer?" Like, it didn't feel well at all. So anyway, that started off, and then I was immediately like completely addicted to brewing and learning about beers. And actually, prior to that, I was not really a craft beer drinker at all. So that, it's kind of backwards. Most people are into craft beer, then learn how to brew.
And then get into brewing.
I just thought it was cool to make beer. Right. And then I was like, oh, look at these beautiful hops. I could taste them. And so I was kind of backwards in that.
That is a little, that's sort of the reverse. That's pretty cool, though. So what were the first craft beers you got into after you started homebrewing? Like the first?
Very, very typical progression of Sam Adams.
All right, okay. And then at some point you were like hugely into IPAs.
It was Hop Devil, actually. That really was like
that's a heavy one to start with.
That was one of my first craft beer loves.
But what it was I tasted it and I was like, holy shit. Can I say that on here?
Oh, yes. Say whatever you want. That's fine.
It's the internet. You can say anything.
Right, exactly. That's good. So I tasted it and I was like, wow. So then I had these hops that I was buying, by the ounce or whatever. And I tasted that in the beer I was drinking. And I put two and two together.
The connection
and
was made.
Like, oh, wow, this is from this.
Wow.
As opposed to it being like just this bitter beer that I didn't understand.
Again,
why.
backwards. I can remember when Victory Hop Double was one of my first favorite craft beers. And at first, when I first got into craft beers, I was like, I like hoppy beers, but I don't know what that means.
That's exactly what
But you started with hops and then had the beer.
So I knew what hops tasted like, then I tasted that, and I said, oh, wow, these things, this is what comes from this. And that's when everything kind of made sense.
Yeah, it all falls into place then.
So where was the moment when you decided you wanted to make this a career?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Oh, that never really happened. It just progressed into that. No, so for like 2 or 3, after about a year, I just started to kind of formulate this idea of having of a brewery or whatever you want to call it. And I called my girlfriend, who's now my wife, Jillian. She's like, you gotta have a name for your brewery. So we talked about different things and what reminds you of beer. What do you think when you think beer? So we named ourselves 5 Mile Brewing Company, and I got a website, I got the domain, and kind of started to build not a brand, but kind of it was just something that was a hobby basically to do to pass time and develop recipes that I really was proud of and made again and again and again and again. To progress hopefully towards something. I mean, I never really wanted to be a brewer who just went and brewed somewhere, and it sounds really terrible to say that because that's pretty normal, but that was never what I always wanted to make what I came up with in my recipes. And and I was given the opportunity to do that here, so
That's pretty awesome.
It worked out.
And I think there's a lot of homebrewers out there, and a lot of competent homebrewers out there that I think make the jump to commercial maybe a little too soon or a little too fast, and don't realize some of the challenges. And it's always nice to see someone like you who went from homebrewing to opening a commercial place and have been successful. Like, that's awesome.
And I appreciate you saying that, because I'm very proud of the beers we put out thus far. We're very fortunate here. The brewery that is here that we bought, Triumph, who was the previous brewery here, they're set up really well, and it was set up to make, not to easily make, but to make lagers, to just make it as easy as possible in the brewer to kind of focus on making beer as opposed to focused on cleaning kegs and all this kind of stuff. We don't have kegs, it's bright tanks. So we have 12 bright tanks, 15 barrel bright tanks, and 6 15-barrel fermenters. So I feel very fortunate in that I've come into a very good situation for making beer.
Yeah, this
into a good facility.
Yeah, it's a great lot to snatch up for it. I remember when Triumph closed, a lot of people were really upset because Old City lost a heavy-hitting brewery and a place to go, and you seem to just have stepped in and raised it up a notch, and that's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm trying to I'm trying to make the beers here that I personally really enjoy making, but also drinking. I think when you look at our beer menu, first of all, it's changing constantly, but you'll notice it's really like heavy on, not heavy, but German lager is like, just not, that's not the style, but it's there's many German lagers out there, but I love German lagers. I love really classic English beers, and I love hop forward American beers, if we want to call them, just really hop forward beers. So those three are that's the main theme running through this place. There's obviously other beers here and there that come up, but
that's a pretty good trifecta. Like a classic lagers, like traditional German lagers.
It's like my 3 favorite areas.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're going to get
That's
along
probably why
really
I
well.
fell in love as soon as I walked through the door.
yeah. So if you look at the menu, you'll kind of see probably at least two of each of those three, and then maybe 3 of this and 4 of or whatever. You know what I mean? So like, you kind of see that theme run through the beers. Oh, this is Megan here, actually.
Hey, Megan.
Hi, Megan.
She has her shirt on that I should be wearing. I left it in my car. Irresponsible.
But we're even wearing
I
our
know.
shirts.
Yeah, I know. Well,
We're
no,
shamelessly
it's
self-promoting
like a
today.
Superman thing here underneath.
You sent her up here just to take pictures of you, didn't you?
No, I didn't do that. That sounds...
So I don't think we actually talked about how you got to this point here with your team at Second Story. How did this...
Okay, so I'll give you like the real quick high-level rundown. So in September, or it was like August of 2012, this place went up for sale. I was married to my wife Jillian in September of 2012. We stayed at the Omni, which is up the street from here, and we came here. I was here Thursday, Friday, and Saturday that weekend. Just because it was close. We didn't even know it was for sale. It wasn't even like a thing we had talked about. But then thereafter, the week after, we found it was for sale, and I kind of looked at it on my own. Not that I could afford the place or anything myself. I talked to some friends I have who are interested in different businesses and things like that. We talked about it, and we decided, it's not really for us. It's a big restaurant, so you need like a restaurant person in addition to the beer, you need the restaurant guy or the restaurant person. And then actually my mother-in-law had looked at the place on her own without me being involved, but then decided, I guess kind of was like, oh, well, we don't have a beer person. Well, then they had a restaurant person who's Ken, our GM, who's a family friend, and then they had me as the beer person, and that was the beginning of the process of like, I was like, I'm actually already looked at it. I already got all the financials for it. I already got all the information for it. But my friends and I decided we're not going to pursue it. But then that kind of got the ball rolling again. We all kind of formed a group, we want to call it. And then it was about a year and 3 months to actually go from there to getting into the space.
Wow.
So it was pretty lengthy from there.
And Ken has a pretty impressive resume as far as the restaurant business.
Yeah, Ken has been in the Philadelphia restaurant scene since the 80s. I hear about it every story at least twice a week.
The last time I was here sitting at the bar, I heard many of those stories. I enjoy them, though. He's a lot of fun to listen to.
Oh, he's great. Yeah, he's great. The most recent big place you probably have heard of is Tiernanog. He started Tiernanog with other people, and he was a GM there for about 10 years. He just left there recently in 2013, maybe. Prior to that, he was at several restaurants in the area. So he's been in the industry for a while, which is exactly what we were missing when we started to look at the place. Oh, look at this is the perfect thing. This is the missing element, Right. But what that did too, with the delay of the opening and how long it took us to get the place and get in here, it allowed me to really pursue, like, how am I going to do this with my home brewing experience? Because I had a year and a half, really. I mean, not intentionally, but just how it worked out, to kind of like know it was happening and try and figure out how to get there to do it, So as much as that delay sucked, it was actually really good in the long run, because I was a year and a half further along on my brewing experience before we opened. And I brewed so much beer at home. It was like, I mean, I broke my collarbone a year and a half ago. Whoa. And I remember waking my wife up at like midnight to help me lift the kettle off the turkey burner that was in my kitchen to get it on the countertop, because I could only use one arm to cool the wort through my non-pumped CFC. I was brewing so much just to kind of nail styles down, and now not necessarily recipes but styles, and like learn ingredients and what they're doing, and giving beer away to events, and as much as I could, just like brewing as much as I possibly could.
Yeah, you need the practice for it, and it's good that you try to narrow down the style before the recipe, because I've seen a lot of home brewers that I know all about IPAs, I just want to add my own spin to it, and then it winds up just being a bomb. So if you nail the style first, you're going to go far, because you know what you can and can't do.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for having a traditional foundational knowledge like that, like exploring style over, I'm going to make a crazy pumpkin peach ale or whatever.
And learning what ingredients do and when and why, as opposed to just like reading about it.
Right.
Like,
actually experiencing it. Yeah.
You kind of know what happens and why it happens, as opposed to like, oh, I read that this happens this way and this is why. It's like, oh, I actually had a beer that I screwed up because I did this or that. Or
and you know why it, if it's off, you know why. Yeah.
So that helps to build recipes to fit styles at that point, right? So you know what to put in to get what you want out of it.
Nice. Now, you mentioned the restaurant side of the business, and I know sometimes people want to open a brewery and they end up with a brew pub, and then it's like, I wanted to be a brewer and now I own a restaurant, and that's it. And it's nice that you have, like, we've tried some of the food so far and it's awesome. The menu looks great. It smells awesome.
It lives up to the awesome beer list.
Right. Yeah. The beer is great. Honestly, I've only tried one of your beers so far, but from what I've heard from everyone who's said, that the beers are awesome. So it's great that you've got both sides, and one's not going to like.
Sure, yeah. I mean, the one thing I try to tell people, and I do all the social media for us, and it's like that's all new to me, but I'm trying to learn it and figure that out.
Funny, a brewer who doesn't know how to do social media. I've never met one of those before.
Yeah, it's like I'm the super awkward social media guy. But I always tell people, I'm like, oh, we are a brewery, but also a restaurant, not just a brewery that has food. You know what I mean? So like, I try to explain that if you want to come here and you don't drink beer, that's totally fine. We actually have a full liquor license, so we have wine and cider and liquor. But if you want to come here just to have dinner, like we want people to like not just come here for the beer, because we're really proud of the food. And we actually, today is the first day of the new menu, so we've just relaunched the menu.
Yeah.
Spring, it's like much more spring items on there.
I'm very excited for the burger that has been taunting me.
Yeah, I have an adult grilled cheese here that looks awesome.
Yeah, and I know you were when we had our appetizers, you were telling Steph that you get the pretzels and get the Vienna Lager with it. Like the fact that you can know that right off the bat is probably, I would imagine, a great thing for your customers that come in here. That way you can tell them, yeah, this goes really well with that. And you told me try the IPA because I had the fried things. It worked out really well.
And for a lot of the dishes, that's on the menu right there for you, so you don't even have to ask. The pairing is right there.
Yeah, having the pairing on there is something that I think a lot of restaurants/breweries kind of overlook.
I think also what you will see sometimes is over pairing, like where people have paired every single item with a beer. Yeah. And I look at the menu and I'm like, there's not a perfect beer for every item. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
But there's certain items that I'm like, oh, this pretzels and German Vienna style lager make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So you should probably order both of them.
Yeah.
Like I would do that. But the point is, like, if you see it on the menu, it's very intentionally done.
Yeah.
It's like we really feel like that works together.
And it's nice that, like you said, not every item on the menu says this goes with this.
It's not
beer,
there
this goes
just to have a beer
Yeah.
listed there. It's
Yeah.
there for a purpose.
I don't want.
Have any of the dishes been built to pair with a beer, or is it just kind of these are the dishes we have, and this would go well with this beer?
Like
Like
pure
you find a match
happenstance?
that works, or is any ever?
So on this, I would say no. At this point, there's nothing that has been built around beer. The chef Aaron and I are going to be sitting down soon to actually just taste some upcoming beers that I can predict. Like we're doing a Pilsner; it'll be ready in about a month. Saisons definitely, and we're going to sit down and taste some some styles that are close enough, and then we'll hook them up with some items that will actually be built, for the beer. But now it's reading the menu and tasting it and being like, okay, this spicy food and IPAs are like kind of a no-brainer. Pretzels and Vienna Lager,
That's a no-brainer. Yeah.
Then there's some items that just kind of make sense, and I feel like I really enjoy when I have them both together.
Right.
But yeah, the idea in the future is to really here's this item. It's meant to be drank with this
Right.
or eaten with
Compliment.
this beer.
Yeah. Specifically. Cool.
Exactly.
Well, how about we drink?
I am always amazed at the cleverness of your segues, Dan.
It's a trick of the trade. That's all it really is.
You can't teach that.
That's that 4.5-year Temple degree, right?
So you
there.
didn't learn that in college. You're just born with that.
Oh yeah, totally.
Anyway.
We have an array of beers in front of us, and they're vastly different in their own right, and they look amazing and delicious. So we're starting off with the 5 Mile Ale, right?
Yeah, 5 Mile Ale is our really classic English mild, which is a style you don't really see a lot of at all. I learned recently there's like a website and Twitter account devoted towards Mild Month in the U.S. Actually, it's pretty funny. So May is Mild Month. Oh, okay. Apparently,
That's the month of my birthday.
I did not
That
know
makes
that.
total
I didn't know that.
This beer is one of the 2 house beers that we always have available on tap. About 4 years ago, I went to actually the Philly Homebrew outlet, and who's now my buddy Jimmy, had a mild on tap, and I was like, this is a really interesting style because it's so light in alcohol and body. It has so much flavor. So this is very traditionally made, English malt, English hops, Brambling Cross, and English yeast. We're using Ringwood now, we switched to recently. So you'll get like the toffee and nut flavor and character, but it is very light-bodied. It finishes pretty dry, and is 3.7% alcohol.
That's my favorite part.
Yeah,
You can
it is
drink-
nice.
yeah.
It's like this beer is designed to drink 20-ounce pints of.
Yeah.
Like many
That's amazing.
20-ounce pints.
This is what I want on tap at my next outdoor party.
Yeah, it is. It's very drinkable without, but still being interesting and having those having a good flavor to it. But
We get, I don't know why, but a fair number of folks in here who are from abroad, whether it's in England or somewhere else, and they always say they haven't. They're like, I haven't tasted anything like this. Is the only thing that I've had over here that tastes like this. And I've never really had a proper mild before. I can only go on what BJCP style categories kind of dictate and build it around that. But I think we're getting pretty close because we've had at least probably 10 folks who are very familiar with the style, who aren't from the U.S., come here and say, this is really good, and I've never had anything like this here, and they love it.
that's a great compliment.
Yeah, that's like, I'm always like very humbled when I hear it. Like,
absolutely.
Okay, we're doing something right here.
Yeah, I like the English styles. Like ESB is a style that you don't see a lot of, but I think a little more than you would see an English mild.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah. ESB is not common, but it's more common than the mild.
And that's a style. It's one of those styles, and I think I mentioned this when we were at Levante because we had their ESB, and I said, I don't think about it until I have one, and then I'm like, this is an awesome style of beer.
Yeah, it really
I should
is.
drink this more often, and you don't.
I'm like of the school of thought that like there's certain beer style beers you can make that don't fall into any style category. I mean, I'll be honest, our IPAs, they don't fall in any style category. I don't really care about styles for hop forward beers. But then there's beers like ESBs, classic English styles and German styles that are a category for a reason.
Yeah.
Like they're really good. And my aim is to
That's
make
a great
them.
point. I love that.
Yeah, like,
they are categories for a reason.
Yeah, there's a reason why like Vienna Lager was made into a category because it's a really classic style. And my aim is not to like make that any differently than somebody else probably already has. Mm-hmm. It's to just make it really well. And if you do that, then it's a good beer. You know? And it's a beer that people, I think, will want to drink.
Absolutely.
So yeah, mild's kind of the same way. And you don't see milds here, so I don't have anything to base it off of. But I interpret this style as this beer.
Right. Yeah, I can't think off the top of my head.
Yards has Brawler, which is a lot.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Theirs probably is not as stylistically accurate, and not because it's great. I love the beer, but it's not probably what. You don't read the style and say that's the beer, but
right.
It's a great beer, and that's the only one I know of that's like really commercially available, and it's great because it's again super low ABV, but really so much great flavor.
Right, and one thing I really like about this is the dry finish.
Oh yeah,
and even with that low ABV, like to get that crisp dry finish in there is really
and that's
nice.
20 ounces at a time. You can just
just sling it back. Yeah, really
exactly.
good.
Drink it with a straw.
Yep.
All right, so what is up next? Ooh, this is what I was drinking earlier. I love this beer.
So the next beer is it's Fritzi's Lager. It's a really classic German Vienna Lager. Nothing crazy going on here again. It's all about the malt. So for our German lagers, I buy Weyermann malt. This is 80% Weyermann malt. Weyermann Vienna, about 18% Weyermann Pils, and then a touch of this malt that's called Cara Aroma. That's a brand of theirs that really exudes like Vienna character, German lager character. And then it's all about the yeast at that point, the fermentation profile. So it's really bready, pairs well with pretzels, as we talked about earlier, and crisp at the same time. So it's kind of medium-bodied, finishes not super dry but not sweet, but the malt really shines here. And you get some of the characteristics from fermentation, maybe a little bit of sulfur, which is not bad in this style of beer. But really just a really nice, well-rounded beer. I always tell people, Yuengling is like it came from Vienna Lager. It's kind of Americanized.
An American descendant.
Yes. Yeah. And it's a great beer. Like I grew up, drinking that when I was not supposed to be drinking beer.
Yeah, I think we all started there. Around here, it's Yuengling.
Yeah. And at family parties still, it's Yuengling.
Yep.
So I always tell people when they come in here who don't drink craft beer, like, oh, try our, if you like Yuengling, oh, try our Fritzi's Lager. Yeah. And they always are like, oh, this isn't like a craft beer. I'm like, no, it's a craft beer. It's just not what you think a craft beer
This is what a lager should be.
This is, yeah. And I have nothing against Yuengling.
To people born in Pennsylvania, or at least this area, this is what lager is to us.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And this is a really spectacular version of a well-made lager.
Yeah.
You get that subtle sweetness and the roastiness.
I love the breadiness.
You get a bit of the bitterness.
But it's,
just a bit.
Yeah.
And as we talked about, Chamonix Creek just so happens to be a new brewery who has a beautiful Vienna Lager, Churchville. And we just also so happen to live in a state where you have Trogs and Victory, who are really great German brewers and have beautiful Pilsners and Helles-style lagers, things like that. So outside of Pennsylvania, though, you really don't see them that often, So I just love them. And we're always going to have one or two, probably two available.
I think German styles, like traditional German styles, you don't see a lot of that in the American craft beer market. I think it's kind of, but I think because we live in Pennsylvania, the Philadelphia area, you have the German heritage, but then you also have the more modern, like urban feel that comes out of Philadelphia, which brings in, the big heavy hitting craft breweries, and then so you do get some awesome like this, which is awesome.
I mean, if you go to Victory, well, first of all, they have their distributed line, which is Premium Pils is obviously like widely available. But when you go to Victory, you can they have their Oktoberfest usually available, Fest beer all the time, Braumeister Pils, which is probably my favorite Pilsner I've ever had, and several more German lagers. And we're just really fortunate to have that here. It's like West Coast has their IPAs.
Exactly.
Pennsylvania,
we have German
really
lagers.
Good Stouts Brewery is another one.
And nowhere else. I don't think anywhere else that this would go over as well. It's like you said,
I think it would be a bit of an uphill battle to get beers like this. popular in like a craft scene in California, I think.
It's not cool.
It's not.
Right.
You're right.
That's
It's
the
not
problem
hip.
with it. It's
Yeah.
not hip.
It's cool here.
It's cool. I think it's
area.
awesome.
Yeah.
And
A lot of things are cool in Pennsylvania. that
nothing
shouldn't be.
against the West Coast and their IPAs. I love a good West Coast IPA. You can't live on IPAs. You can live on German lager.
That's true.
It will give you the nutrition you need.
So next up, we have the one I was drinking a little earlier. This is the Evolve IPA.
Yeah, so it's called Evolve IPA because I didn't want to initially say, yeah, I'll always have the same IPA available. First of all, there's like two main reasons. One is hop availability is not guaranteed. It's not easy. It's not consistent. As a new guy, like I'm totally dependent on what I can get off the spot market for hops.
Right.
But also, like, variety to me is important. An IPA variety, like having to be able to serve like 6 different IPAs over 2 months or something that are all very different and unique in their own way, but still have the same like bottom line, super intensely hop-like flavor. Is kind of interesting to me as a consumer. So like I kind of want to be able to give that to people. Like,
So the Evolve, does just the hops change? Like is the malt bill the same every time?
everything changes.
It's just completely
It's
different.
a new
Okay.
beer. Yeah.
It's just a new one
so,
each time.
So this batch here is actually pretty. It's 95% Pilsner malt and 5% rye. So pretty straightforward with the malt bill. Hops are Simcoe and Ella. Ella is a hop variety out of New Zealand that is a cousin, I believe, to Galaxy.
I don't think I've ever heard of that one.
No, again, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, take what you can
What
get.
you can get, yeah.
Now, Yards sold me these hops, actually, which has been great. They've been really helpful in terms of just helping me out. But at the end of the day, like, the idea is to produce a beer that's really just allows the hops to kind of shine. And if I do introduce any malt character in these beers, it's not, the Evolve beers at least, it's not about any sort of like sweetness or coffee or nut or anything that's going to take away from the hops. If anything, it's oats, wheat, and rye to kind of give some grainy character without adding sweetness and anything to overpower the hop flavor.
That ever-present malt backbone.
Yeah, now you see a lot of that, and that's people really dig that. And actually, Hop Devil's an example of beer that has a lot of malt character.
Yeah.
And I love Hop Devil, and maybe it's because I started drinking it as my first craft beer. But the point is, like, that's a different thing entirely to me. And that's a very traditional American IPA. I like to just make these beers that allow the hops to really be the star, and not take away from that. And the yeast we're using in this is actually Conan, which is the heady topper strain from The Alchemist. I assume it's from The Alchemist. When I call the yeast company, they say, it's from a brewery who lets us sell it. I'm like, okay, it's probably The Alchemist. I assume it's The Alchemist. And I started using it at home about a year and a half ago, and I loved it. Like, I immediately, the beers I made before with the real clean American ale yeasts, once I changed over to this, it actually, instead of letting the hops kind of be the star, it does that, but it also adds this beautiful, like, peachy apricot character. Like stone
You
fruit.
almost
So
know when it's brewed with that yeast.
I think you do, yeah. If you let it,
taste the
if you want the
characteristics.
flavor to come out in it, you kind of, if you know it, you can kind of pick it up.
Yeah.
I think. And
But I like the extra element that the rye brings. I appreciate that subtle spiciness there.
right,
I
so.
like that.
So yeah, so that's the idea with like rye, or we use a lot of oats here and wheat in IPAs. It's not to add like flavor, not like caramel flavor and anything like that. It's to add different layers of flavor that wheat and oats and even rye to an extent kind of just add like another layer of flavor that doesn't compete with hops, but it kind of just gives you something more to like think about and taste, you know.
It's a good like foundation or like a stage for the hops to be on. Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nice.
So is this? How many iterations of Evolve have there been?
This is number 4.
How far has it evolved?
Yes. How far has it evolved?
This is number 4 so far. And I try to always have it on. We just went to like a month and a half where we didn't have Evolve on tap.
Right.
There's another IPA we'll taste a little bit later that is like my homebrew kind of beer I've made for the past 5 years. I can't make it regularly because the hops are not available, Citra hops. But that's the beer that ultimately I would love to always have available. But the Evolve allows me some creative outlet to kind of like make whatever I want, whatever I can get my hands on to keep it fresh, you know.
And that's a nice idea because I think a lot of, IPAs are the hip craft beer. And so if somebody's coming in here, a more casual craft beer drinker, the first thing they're going to do is say, what's your IPA? And so you come back, and now it's the same beer, but it's different.
It's different,
so
exactly.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, people order IPAs they don't even ask about what is in it. It's just, do you have an IPA? I'll take that.
Yeah.
And to some extent, that's kind of like disappointing because I want them to care about, what's in it.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's kind of a shame that people do that. It's like there's a lot that goes into it, and you just want it because it's a little more bitter than something else.
Yeah, bitter, hoppier. Now, I try to lean away from that bitterness and just lean towards the hop flavor and aroma. But, yeah, I mean, the bitterness is there to balance some of that sweetness of the alcohol and the hop character. So,
yeah, I think the Evolve is really good. I can see why it's a go-to. I'm excited for the next one that's here, though, the Stout. Which one is this one, the Dad's Hat?
Yeah, so this beer we brewed back in February, I think, or January. It's a breakfast stout base that we served here, the full batch with basically just an oatmeal stout, 8.1%, 8.3% alcohol, 10% oats in the recipe. And then I took 30 gallons of it and put them in Dad's Hat rye whiskey barrels. And now that base beer is gone, the regular beer. This beer is put into the whiskey barrels with Philly Roasters coffee beans and laid down for about 2 months now. And then we kegged it up this week, and now here it is.
It's delicious. Oh my
I
God,
haven't tasted it yet.
great.
I'm savoring it. The aroma is awesome. It smells really good.
The base beer was very nice as well, but this is like the spiciness from the rye really comes through. And Dad's Hat, these barrels are fresh. They dumped them, and within a week we had beer in them. So they had no time to kind of dry out and lose any of that intensity.
That's really good. How long has this been out of the barrel?
It's been out of the barrel for about 27 hours.
Wow. It doesn't taste like it. Because I like when barrel-aged beers have time to mellow a bit before they don't have that harsh bite.
This was kegged yesterday.
And it's not
overnight.
super hard. It's got the awesome bourbon flavor, but it doesn't have the really harsh bite to it.
This beer stands up to that flavor pretty well, I think. Mm-hmm. So you don't necessarily get like that super harsh. I love whiskey, first of all. I'll just go out and say that. That back end like whiskey. This isn't burning or anything, It just has that spiciness and that like whiskey flavor. Mm-hmm. And these Dad's Hat barrels are incredible because you get them from the distillery usually within a week of them dumping them. So if you get them and get beer in them within the next couple of days, they are very fresh barrels, and you pick up flavor in about a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Wow.
And you could really take a beer and keg it at that point, take it off the wood, and still have really beautiful whiskey character, an oak character from the barrels. Yes, this is a very one-off thing. I have this sixtel on now. I have one more sixtel of this. And then I have another barrel that's 3 sixtels total. That's the same beer, but in addition to the coffee beans, we actually put a bunch of vanilla bean paste.
I was hoping you would say that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So that's like I've never actually I've had KBS once, but it's kind of like the same idea, vanilla, coffee, and this huge stout.
Oh my God.
And this whiskey, So beer week, we're gonna probably keg that up with that.
Well, I know where I'm coming.
That's the idea.
Nice.
This is great. This is fantastic.
What is the ABV on this?
So it was 8.2 before you put it in barrels. It's probably it may have picked up a 0.1% off the whiskey that's in there, but I didn't measure that.
So
I
low
appreciate
eights.
that it's in the single digits.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not beyond.
That's my problem with beers like this. You want the flavor and you want to enjoy it, but I want to be able to have more
It's
than
a
one
heavy
beer when
hitter.
I go out.
Yeah.
Most of
Yeah,
yeah,
we do
this
one pint of 11% beer, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh, that's
That's
it
it.
for
Yeah.
the night,
Yep.
or
Yep.
it's not, and you or fall asleep.
I have a bottle of I don't even remember what it is, 11% something at home, and I've been avoiding drinking it for like a week because I'm like, It's too much. I can't.
Well, I told Mark Graves on Facebook the other day, I still have a bottle of the Firestone Walker Double DBA from last year from California.
Oh, yeah.
It's a bomber, and I can't bring myself to drink it because, well, nobody in my house can drink beer except for me.
Right.
So it's all me, and that's a heavy beer. I will not wake up.
Bring it to the podcast. I'll share it.
You know, I might as well. But now that we have a little bit of beer, well, a lot of bit of beer in us, I think we should let's play a game.
Let's play a game. What game are we playing?
I don't know.
Tic-tac-toe? Hangman?
I can do Hangman.
We are playing the
Connect Four?
happiest, funniest, timey-wimeyest,
Libation
happy,
or fabrication?
fun time game.
Timey-wimey.
No, we are playing a brand new game today.
Ooh.
Without a long, convoluted intro.
Does it have anything to do with timey-wimey or Tardai?
No, but you know what it does have to do with?
What?
Golden Avalanche.
All right.
Do you know why?
Yellow
when
snow?
we were at Golden Avalanche, I mentioned that Beer Advocate has a pretty cool feature on their website where they will list the top-rated beers by style.
Oh, dear.
So I have chosen 3 styles of beer and have given you 3 multiple-choice options to tell me what is the top beer in that style on Beer Advocate as of right now.
At this moment right now.
Yeah, obviously it could change.
It's a good game.
But I think a lot of them stick around.
Because I, as much as I'm not like wildly like into reading about these ratings, I still am aware of them.
Right.
I try to be aware of them.
Try to be aware of them and see what's like.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I discovered that when I was putting together the game. We played a Golden Avalanche because I was looking up. I started Googling like best stout beer, and I kept getting the same results, Beer Advocate's list. So I was like, I'm going to remember that. And I did. And I made a game out of it. And we're going to play it right now. And we're going to begin, as always, to my left with Dan. And we are starting with American IPA.
Of course.
So
I think I know this.
the top-rated American IPA? Oh, don't look at my screen, by the way.
I'm not looking at it.
What is the top-rated American IPA? I should mention real quick, though. Their ratings are based on weighted rank, which takes into consideration the overall rating as well as the number of ratings.
Okay.
So, lesser ratings with higher score are good. Slightly lower score with a lot of ratings is kind of equally good. Okay. I don't know the exact formula, but something like that. Pi is probably
Does it
involved.
include the rating
Probably,
of the bros?
No, this is the people's choice.
People's, not the bros.
Yes, this is the people's choice. So, American IPA.
Bros.
If you clearly have never been on Beer Advocate, if you have no idea what
Not
I'm
for a
talking
very long
about.
time, but
Yeah.
like all I can think of is "Don't Tase Me, Bro."
The Bras.
It's the Alstrom brothers. They're two.
Like the authoritative voice.
Gotcha.
Is the top-rated American IPA on Beer Advocate, not by the bros, by the people? Is it A, Focal Banger by The Alchemist, B, Julius by Treehouse Brewing Company, or C, Sculpin by Ballast Point?
Sculpin.
Dan is
Going
saying
Sculpin.
C, Sculpin by Ballast Point.
Oh,
Steph?
shit.
So weighted average, you said?
Yes.
Wow.
Weighted rank. Yes.
Focal banger.
Makes me, I think focal
Steph
banger.
is saying Focal Banger, and John, you agree?
No, I'm not sure yet.
Okay.
Sculpin is just so popular.
Sculpin is my favorite IPA.
What iteration of Sculpin?
Well, except habanero.
Well, regular,
Sculpin.
yeah, not habanero.
Habanero Sculpin is just.
I'll go with Sculpin.
Or grapefruit. Okay, so you are saying Sculpin as
Sculpin.
well. Dan and John say Sculpin. Steph says Focal Banger. 3 answers, none of them correct.
It was
the
Treehouse.
answer
Good for Treehouse. That's
was
awesome.
Julius by Treehouse Brewing Company. It's bursting with 1.6 ounces
too,
per gallon
Brutus.
of American hops. Julius is loaded with notes of passion fruit, mango, and citrus. At 6.5% alcohol, it is refreshing and freakishly drinkable.
Where are they at?
Treehouse Brewing Company is in
Massachusetts.
Monson, Massachusetts. You know what else is about them?
Like Central
They
South
have
Mass.
peanuts. They are salty and delicious and free.
Those are good things to have.
And they have amazing IPAs.
Yeah, and so their weighted rank was 4.57 with 917 ratings.
Wow.
For
That
those of
many.
you who are interested, yes, Focal Banger was number 2 with a weighted rank of 4.52 with 1,168 ratings. Sculpin was further down at number 8.
Wasn't Hetty up there?
Good old
No,
number 8.
because Hetty is under double/Imperial IPA.
Ah, that makes sense.
Otherwise,
What's the
it probably
percentage
would be.
cutoff?
I do not know, actually.
By the way, is Double or Imperial a category in this game?
No, it is not.
Damn it.
But yeah, Sculpin was number 8 with a weighted rank of 4.41 with 11,295 ratings. So obviously a very widely drunk beer, but not the top of the list. Moving on to American Red Ale, and Steph is going to guess first on this one. The top
Red
American
Ale.
Red Ale / Amber Ale on Beer Advocate. Is it A, Nosferatu by Great Lakes? Is it Lagunitas Imperial Red Ale? Or is it Nugget Nectar by Trogs?
I'll
Categorized
say
red ale.
Yeah, Imperial Amber. That's what they call it.
Lagunitas.
Steph is saying Lagunitas Imperial Red. John,
Me?
your
John?
answer, please.
I didn't know if you were with him, John.
He doesn't have a
I'm going
microphone,
to go Trogs. Trogs.
I think he said true.
Nugget.
I'm going to go with true.
Trogs is probably, I mean, that's my guess at least.
Okay, John is saying Trogs, and Dan?
I want to say Nugget Nectar.
Dan is also saying Nugget Nectar. The bros at the table are correct. It is
Nice.
Nugget Nectar. Unfortunately, Steph, you were wrong.
I'm happy about that, though, because I love that beer.
It's an awesome beer. Squeeze those hops for all
but
they're
people
worth.
bitch about it all the time, so they're like,
It-
it's not as good as they say it is.
It will take
I
hopheads
love
to
it.
Nirvana with a heady collection of American hops. Their Imperial Amber is further infused with whole flower nugget hops added to their hop-back vessel, resulting in an explosion of citrus, resin, and pine.
And it's in
Trogs,
cans.
of course, out of Hershey, PA. Now
Which is
available
great. I
in
love the
cans,
idea.
Nugget
Amazing
Nectar.
cans.
The number one
I have
Amber
one
Ale
4-pack left.
on Beer
That's all right.
Advocate.
I'm like hoarding it.
With a weighted ranking of 4.33 and 7,645 ratings.
Wow.
Nosferatu was number 8, the same spot that Sculpin had in the IPA category with 4.07 weighted ranking, 2,323 ratings, and Lagunitas came in at number 3 with a 4.11 weighted rank, 2,216 rankings. Moving on to our third and final category, and John with a microphone is going to go first on this one. And this category is a curveball American Light Lager.
What?
Wow.
Is it A, Framingham Lager by Jack's Abbey? Is it Sam Adams Light? Or is it Yingling Light Lager?
That is a very interesting question. Never ever considered this as like a thing to think about. I'm going to go based on personal taste. I've tasted Yingling and Sam before, the light stuff. I'm going to go with my personal. To go with Sam.
You're going to go Sam?
Yeah.
All right, going to go with Sam. Dan?
I'm gonna go with Yingling. Light Lager by Yingling.
If it's not Jack's Abbey, I am rage quitting this podcast right now.
Flip the table,
I agree with
Steph,
you.
because it is not Jack's Abbey. It is in fact... Perfect. It is in fact Sam Adams Light. So John was correct on that one.
Boo. Apparently, those people have never had Framingham.
I never had Jack's Abbey.
Framingham is amazing.
I was actually surprised when I saw the list that
That I'm
that
rage
was
quitting.
not.
I mean, what style
was
is
not
that?
fair.
Because Yingling Light Lager is basically a light amber lager.
It's categorized as American Light Lager according to Beer Advocate. Yeah, it beats Miller, Coors, or Bud Light, I suppose. But why bother drinking light
This
beer?
is wrong. All wrong.
I will have you know this is kind of funny. Sam Adams Light did top the list of American Light Lagers, but its weighted rank was much lower than the weighted ranks of beers we've discussed so far at 3.22 with 2,110 ratings. None of the other rankings dipped below 4. So the category in general is not very popular. But in that category, Sam Adams is first. Framingham is number 3 with a 3.01 weighted ranking, so please don't drop the mic. I don't know.
I'm done.
You're done. Done. I've had it. That only had 124 ratings. Jack's
Well,
Abbey.
Not
they're
everyone has been going there for 4 years
That's
like
true.
me.
They're not
Where are
huge.
they at?
4 years.
PA?
Framingham, Massachusetts. Can you
Fittingly
tell I
enough.
go to Massachusetts a lot?
Apparently.
I know I'm a Boston
Bastion.
area first.
Yingling Light was number 6 with a weighted ranking of 2.78, 915 ratings. Some of the big ones were on the list. Some of our less popular.
You're
I'm
umming. Wrap this
vamping
up.
because I clicked the wrong link. But anyway, I mean, I stole Dan's word, vamping. But like Coors and Light and all that were on there. Miller Light
Coors
was on
and
the
Light.
Coors Light, Miller Light, Bud Light, all that crap.
Coors and Light.
Coors and
and Light. But way down the list. So we're going to add up the points
And I lost.
and see who our big winner is.
And I'm
Steph has a total of 0.
I'm contesting this game.
Our big winner is
contesting
our
this. I do
guest
not
of
agree.
honor, John. To my right with 2
I won.
points.
Good for you, John.
2 out of
With
3 ain't
2
bad,
points.
says
I
Meatloaf.
still hate this game.
Coming in second with 1 single solitary point was
Oh,
to
you
my
got
left.
0.
Dan, yeah, and Steph.
Whatever.
Unfortunately,
It's because I disagree.
disagree. Circle gets the square. You get a circle, which
Boo.
stands for 0. You lose.
Whatever.
The end. Rage quit.
If you stuck with the same letter each time, you probably would have got one right.
That's true.
That's a good way of doing it.
Yeah.
B.
Standardized test.
Always B.
B.
Yes. All right. Well.
Play my music.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. Here we go.
Your beer.
Know your beers.
Steph, what do you got?
So when John sent me the list of beers that we'd be tasting on this episode, I was very excited to see a Vienna Lager on the list. So of course, that made my know your beer decision quite easy. A Vienna Lager is a European...
IPAs, right?
No.
Okay.
A Vienna Lager is a European amber lager that's not typically seen on the tap list of most American craft breweries. The original amber lager, developed by Anton Dreher shortly after the isolation of lager yeast, was named after the city in which it originated. A traditional Vienna lager is brewed using a 3-step decoction boiling process. Munich, Pilsner, Vienna, toasted, and dextrin malts are used, as well as wheat in some cases. There's subtle hops, crisp, and residual sweetness. Although German in origin and rare these days, some classic examples come from Mexico, where it was brought by Santiago Graf and other Austrian immigrant brewers in the late 1800s. Mexican examples include Dos Equis and Negro Modelo. Regrettably, most modern examples use adjuncts, which lessen the rich multi-complex characteristics of the best examples of this style. Although German in origin and rare these days, some classic examples come from Mexico, where it was brought by Santiago Graf and other Austrian immigrant brewers in the late 1800s. Mexican examples include Dos Equis and Negro Modelo. Regrettably, most modern examples use adjuncts, which lessen the rich multi-complexity of the best style of this example. The style owes much of its character to the method of malting. Lighter malt character overall than an Oktoberfest style, yet still decidedly balanced towards malt. The aroma you'll find is moderately rich German malt aromas from those Vienna Munich malts. A late toasted malt aroma could be present, similar but quite less intense than an Oktoberfest. They appear to be light reddish amber to copper in color, bright clarity with a large off-white head. The flavor is going to be soft, elegant malt complexity in the forefront, with a firm enough hop bitterness to provide a balanced finish. Some toasted malt character from the Vienna malt, fairly dry finish with both malt and hop bitterness present in the aftertaste. We're going to be medium light to medium bodied with a gentle creaminess, moderate carbonation, smooth, and moderately crisp finish. American versions can be a bit stronger, drier, and more bitter, while European versions tend to be sweeter. Many Mexican amber and dark lagers used to be more authentic, but unfortunately are now more like sweet adjunct-laden American dark lagers. Some commercial examples include Great Lakes, Elliot Ness, Boulevard Bob's 47 Munich Style Lager, Old Dominion's Aviator Amber Lager, Gordon Biersch Vienna Lager, Capital Wisconsin Amber, Old Saratoga Lager, Penn Pilsner, Iron Hill Vienna Red Lager, and of course, Second Story Fritzi's Lager, which is quite delicious.
Well, now that we have learned something, let's drink something.
Beer me! Beer me! Beer me! Beer me!
So we have another array of beers in front of us right now, and I'm excited for the first one because it has glowing recommendations from somebody at the table who we made sure to not give a microphone.
John without a mic.
Yes, John Michaelis is now your name.
John's not allowed to have a mic until he comes back from Nashville.
That's a good plan. And even then, he'll have to fight for it.
Yes.
But no, we're starting off with the Dunkel. Am I Tunken Dunkel? Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Tunken.
I'll be the first to tell you I'm really bad with names. So I kind of auction off the naming to everybody who works here and my wife. And Ken came up with Tunken or Tunken Dunkel, and Tunken means dunk in German.
So it's like Dunkel.
Dunk Dunkel or
That's
dunk,
awesome.
yeah, whatever it is. So this is a really classic, traditional Dunkel. It's 98.5% Munich malt, Weyermann Munich malt, and 1.5% black, debittered black, just for color adjustment, not for flavor, not for anything else. Because Weyermann Munich, it's light Munich, it's 10L, wouldn't necessarily be dark enough for a Dunkel on its own. But this really is all about the malt. It's not about hops, not about anything else, but malt and really clean German lager flavor.
The malt really shines through with it. Oh,
You're bringing lager back.
Trying to.
Bring in lager
One beer at a time.
Go ahead, be going with it.
Those other breweries don't know how to.
Those are
act.
the words, right? I don't.
I feel fortunate, like I said earlier, to be in a place where we can make lagers like this without sacrificing other beers. Like we have enough space to lager and to hold beer for 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks without worrying about fermentation space or cellaring space. So I'm just fortunate to have that, and I'm trying. And actually, the guy who set this brewery up for Triumph, I've never met. I didn't know him, but he passed some couple years ago. But he was a big German lager guy, and he set it up for making German lagers. It just so happened that I also love them and want to make them and share them with people. So it actually worked well that his brewery was designed to make these beers, and I just happen to be carrying that on.
Thank God you're the one that ended up here.
Or somebody,
really.
who makes German lager. That's what it was meant for.
It really was. And this is another, like, it's that classic hearty German. That's what I love about German beers is like they're like a little meal in a glass. Like it's more than just a beer. You know, it's like
I mean, they all have that common theme of like breadiness and toastiness. The Munich malt, the 98.5%, almost 100% Munich malt in this just adds that a little bit of like sweetness. It's not like this caramel or crystal sweetness you get from a lot of English malts, but it's just got like somewhere between this toasty, bready, sweet character, which really
and it's almost like I would even say like a slightly herbal sweetness at the very end.
And maybe that
Could be
herbalness
from the hops.
could be from the hops.
That
So it's
comes in a little bit there.
Tettnanger hops, real classic German hops. On the Vienna, on this, on Pilsner even is Tettnang Hallertau. I mean, it's all real classic German stuff.
So now we have. I saw this on the list, and I was super excited about this with the Canterbury Bitter.
Yeah, so this is a real classic.
Yes.
Actually, I was around the corner from here is a really great bar called the Victoria Freehouse.
Ooh, I keep seeing ads for them on Facebook.
Yeah, they are good at promoting or something. I always see them too on there.
Yeah.
But they are an English bar, and they only serve imported English beers, Scottish too. But anyway, the point is, you go there and like you're just kind of like transformed into this like English pub atmosphere where you're ordering like bangers and mash, like Welsh rarebit, all these very weird food items that are awesome and really classic English beers.
You'd be surprised how often bangers and mash comes up on this podcast.
Oh, really?
And well, every time
They're good. They're so good.
That's what I said before. Is every time we have an ESB, somehow we come to
Bangers and mash.
So this one is pretty classically made again, and that sounds like a broken record, boring thing.
Nothing
to
wrong with
make
classic.
it
No, nothing wrong at
It's a
all.
reason they're classic.
Hop really kind of gently with East Kent Goldings, which Canterbury is the region in England that became East Kent. So that's why it's called Canterbury Bitter. There's very English malts, whether it be the base malt, the Maris Otter, or the crystal malt for the sweetness and the color, and some kind of that toastiness you get in that. But then also again the hops as well. And actually, East Kent Goldings are something I never really used before at home. This is a new recipe entirely, but I really appreciated the hop character that came out of it. And it's really subtle. It's not, you don't taste it and say, oh, it's hoppy, you know?
Right.
But it's there. Like, there's that underlying, really subtle hop flavor.
And I think
aroma.
it comes in at the end, like you get a little bit of that malty sweetness, like right towards the end, and then the hop bitterness kind of comes in and cleans that up right at the very end. Yeah.
And there's a touch on the nose where it's not grassy, so it's kind of like somewhere between grassy and citrusy, but subtle, and it's a really drinkable beer. And we had it on the hand pump when we first brewed it.
Whoa.
I think I filled one firkin of it, and it's perfect. Like, it's engineered. This beer is made for...
It's meant to be.
On cask conditioned on a hand pump or gravity fed, whatever it want to be. But as same as the mild, same kind of deal, right? The mild and this beer, like at 50 degrees on a hand pump, cask conditioned, are fantastic.
Yep. When you go to the Winchester and have a pint, wait for the whole thing to blow over, this is the pint I would want.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So another classic style, but just like really drinkable.
And I love that your beers are drinkable. They pair well with food, but they stand strong on their own as well. A lot of times I think people use that phrase, they pair well with food, because
As
you kind
in,
of
like,
need the
without
food
the food,
too.
it's not much,
But
yeah.
no, I mean, the beer stands on its own too, but it is so drinkable.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the goal. Is every beer should be able to kind of be appreciated on its own and enjoyed on its own, but to pair it with food and you know, and kind of have the whole experience is also the main objective. You know. Next beer. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, it's fine.
You just transitioned yourself. I love it.
Yeah,
Well,
You're
I
hired.
I was gonna throw to you anyway, so that works out.
This beer is a Citra. I guess the double IPA because the ABV is higher than a regular IPA. It's called Adsultum. This is a beer I made at home for about 5 years. I called Citra IPA for 5 years. My wife told me, "Oh, you have to have a name for it because it's in a brewery now." And she's a Latin teacher, and she has her master's in classics, and so anyway, Latin's runs strong. And Adsultum is Latin for the phrase or the word by hops. So
Oh, wow.
by hops, Adsultum. It's it's the hoppiest beer we have at the moment, at least. Citra IPA made with Pilsner and Munich malts. So Munich's about probably 7 to 8%. Pilsner, and then a touch of some crystal caramel, or carapils, just for some body. So it's not super dry like the Evolve was. It actually has some body and some sweetness to it.
Yeah.
But it's got like some really fresh, juicy hop character. That you kind of you don't see a whole lot of. I think.
And Conan yeast again?
Conan, yeah, all Conan.
This is delicious.
I have 2 comments regarding the notes on this beer.
Okay, I've got one regarding the name.
Okay. One regarding the name. On the way here, I was reading over the notes. And at a glance, the name...
Adult Swim?
Adult Swim, exactly. Yeah.
Well,
That was my
actually,
note about the name.
The bartenders put it on the top markers as Adult Swim because everybody says it anyway. Really? So it's like, well, what's the point of even trying to call it Adult Swim?
Yep.
Or Adult
trying to use Latin and
exactly.
classic idea. No,
Right,
Adult Swim.
right.
The other thing is, I had never seen double IPA written as IIPA.
Yeah, me neither.
As in,
That's
like,
a good point.
literally-
Oh, you know what?
double
I
I.
wrote IPA and I was like, oh shit, it's probably a double IPA. I'll put another I in there. I mean, literally, that's what happened.
I've always seen DIPA, like double
No, I've
IPA.
seen IIP.
This
and that's
also-
I've seen 2X IPA.
Yeah, and Steph said like this was sort of like an older way of referring
I
to it.
kind of
like,
remember IIPA before the whole
Before the
DIPA thing
DIPA
came
and
around.
That's
2X.
probably it. I mean, like I said before, I don't really categorize a lot of these beers as like IPA, double IPA, whatever. It's really an alcohol indicator for me more than anything.
Right, yeah.
And this 8% kind of falls into the double IPA in terms of telling people what to expect in terms of alcohol percentage. So I'm not as concerned about like the category of double IPA or whatever it is. But it's a really, really intensely hop beer, all Citra. It's Columbus first wort hopped, no bittering addition. It's just Columbus at first wort, and then Citra at 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and then a huge addition in the Whirlpool, and then dry hopped.
Wow.
To hell with that.
Hops.
You know,
and hops and
you
hops.
really get the dankness of it up front, and like it hits you at first as a double IPA, and then that sweetness just really rounds it,
It does.
out.
It starts off a little like resiny and like sort of dank, and then the citrus comes in, and it sort of gets crisper. And
It still
cleaner
seems
as you
weird
go
to me
on.
to use dank as a good word.
Oh, dank's
It's
a
a
great
good
word.
word in hops.
Dank's
yeah,
always a good word.
I think, at least. I mean, Citra hops are one of the few I think that really stand on their own as being like really. It's not that they're like multi-dimensional, but I think they stand on their own as being a really good hop
Yeah.
in terms of character and multiple kind of layers of flavor. So when 2011 or 12, when I made this beer for the first time, I was like, this is such a good hop. I want to highlight it, and that's what this has evolved into. Is this beer what you are tasting here tonight?
And it is. I think you're right. It is a hop that can be highlighted and stand
Yeah.
on its own. And
Yeah.
like this is a Citra.
And I've done other single hop beers before, and I not that I don't like. I like so many hop varieties, but this one for me is like my double IPA kind of like. This thing is awesome. The way this Citra is kind of perfect. You know,
Yeah.
almost. It's a weird, hard thing to describe.
It would be great in a can.
It would be great in a can. Absolutely.
In a can.
In
Absolutely.
a can.
In a can.
The next iteration
When
of
you're
Second
ready.
Story will be.
Yeah, cans.
I love canned. I like Hetty, obviously Hetty.
Yes.
And
Elevated from
there's
Ocumbre.
there's a couple of good canned varieties now, but just to crack a can open and drink it, and it's super juicy and fresh and
Yeah,
hoppy is
absolutely.
awesome. You know.
Yeah.
It's not what you
I enjoy
normally
that.
get out of a can, that's great.
That's exactly right. It's probably a novelty for now, but you know, it's awesome.
Yep.
It is.
Oh yeah.
Ooh. Speaking of which, you don't do any bottling or
It's all on site.
No.
distribution? We can distribute kegs. It's a labor of love when I distribute a keg because I disassemble the Sankey with a screwdriver and clean it and sanitize it by hand. It takes me about a good hour to clean and sanitize a keg.
Wow.
And we just recently sold a sixtel at Sultum to Hawthorne's Beer Cafe, which is in South Philly.
Great place.
Yeah, so like my whole thing with it, like it takes me a lot of time to do it, so like, and the trade-off is not great. Selling it here is the most profitable thing to do.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm really also interested in getting the name out there.
Right.
So I'm not trying to flood Philadelphia, bars, but I'm trying to get it in places that are maybe good for us.
right.
To say, hey, in South Philly here, in Milton Liberties here, in Fishtown here, or whatever, here's one bar in each location
Right.
that kind of has our beer to represent us. So
more
I'm
to sort of bring people here,
it's
like
a-
we try
it's an
there.
it's really a marketing thing. I mean, we're not losing money, but like it's more profitable / the margins are greater for us to sell it here. But I also enjoy the fact that people can go to Hawthorne's in South Philly and a week whenever they tap it and drink our beer. That's awesome, you know. And it also will get them interested in coming here, hopefully. So it's kind of twofold to make a little bit of money on it. But it's a marketing thing. It's more about that than making money on it. I'm not as worried about the money we make on the beer. More worried about the marketing kind of aspect of the whole thing.
right.
Can you fill growlers here?
Yeah, so 32. We have 32 and 64 ounce growlers. We sell or we fill anybody. We don't care about the brand or if you bring your own in. And our growler pricing is like it's way too cheap, really. But it's what we
Yeah, I saw it on the beer list. $12 for a 64.
$12 for 64. At Sultum is more than that because I can't make it enough to like justify selling it for $12. But everything else is $12 for 64 ounce, and 32 ounce is I think $7. So for $7 you get 2 pints, you take it home with you. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
When Triumph was here, weren't they not allowed to do growler fills? Has the law changed since then?
Well, it's not a law thing. So the liquor license they had, we actually wound up buying, you know, and that had a stipulation on it for no take-away beer at all, including growlers. But about a year before we got the place, they had that removed. So growlers are okay. Actually, weirdly enough, bottles are specifically indicated as being not allowed here to sell. But I'm like, you know what? Cans aren't listed. I'll sell cans. I'll bring a mobile canner in and sell a bunch of cans.
Awesome. Yeah.
They didn't think about that 5 years ago. So,
Gotcha.
Yeah, exactly. So, anyway, growlers weren't allowed, but now they are allowed. So, I mean, if that was on the things that we probably would have fought the hell out of that to get it removed.
Yeah.
But interestingly enough, the organization who had that on there was the Old City Neighborhood Association. They have since dissolved as an organization because they were fought by somebody, a developer or something in the area, and couldn't fight it in court. They couldn't afford it, so they actually dissolved as an organization. But it's still on our liquor license, so like it's this weird.
Their legacy is.
We still have it on there, but if we wanted to argue it, there's nobody to argue against.
Yeah.
it.
Nobody.
No.
Yeah.
So maybe we probably would win actually.
So is that the same deal with Notting Head? Because they didn't fill growlers either when they were still.
They didn't fill growlers?
No.
Oh, I didn't know that. I don't know actually. That's a good question. I'm kind of know Gordon, who's the brewer there, a bit now, and they're opening up again, hopefully in the near future.
I'm counting the minutes.
Yeah. I didn't know that was a thing though. That's not the same thing because this is the Old City Neighborhood Association
Right.
had us not allowed to do that. That's Center City. It's
Right, that's not
Rittenhouse
even the
kind of.
same.
It's not, yeah. So
Interesting.
that's a different set of rules up there, you know. The next beer, is that what we're going to
say,
do?
yeah, we had 2 more that were brought up and put in front of us. These are...
So, these are... So, the first beer we'll have here is a sour beer.
Yay, Dan.
I've never
Dan
been...
loves sour beers.
I recently admitted that I like sour beers for the first time.
He didn't for a long time.
I'm probably with you, actually.
All
in
right.
this camp of, like, not liking sour beers.
Yeah, it was these 2 that really did it for me, though. Wayne and Steph, they got me into them.
I will never forget the first time I saw him taste.
Oh, my God.
I was a wild ale, whatever, but
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, the weird soury sort
Sure.
of. He made a face and a sound. I
puckered his
have
mouth
never I thought he was gonna vomit or something.
So what we're trying to do here, what we are doing here, is taking beer we are making up here and brewing up here.
Right.
And prior to fermentation, off the heat exchanger, we're taking it and we're pulling it prior to putting it in a fermenter and pitching yeast. And I have a guy that I'm friends with. His name is Kirk.
I have a guy.
No,
I know a guy.
Sounds like that, yeah.
know
But
a
he's
guy.
he's a friend of mine who only does open wild fermentation, has for many years. And we're basically taking work here. He's introducing bugs that he is familiar with and different cultures that he is, kind of can dictate where they go and how they taste, and taking our wort in our building and doing that with. And so what we wind up with is this. We have this beer on tap, but then we also have this kind of sour version of it. And it takes a little bit longer than the regular beer does, obviously. But we're really trying to kind of always have it available. Right now, it's very limited. It's there's a 6th we have on right now that is going to be probably gone tomorrow. But the idea is to build up enough backstock, because it takes time, to always have it available. So this is our ESB base that's been fermented out with a blend, really, of sack, which is real clean yeast, PDO, Brett, and lacto. So the pH is fairly low. It's pretty tart. This isn't really as tart as some of our blends have been, but it's fairly tart. It's very refreshing, I think, as a person who really doesn't drink a lot of sours.
And I'm right there with you. Yeah, I normally I didn't like sours up until about 2 weeks ago, but
wow, you're very young there.
Yeah.
Sour
about
thing.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
It's
Nice.
the flavor journey this puts you on, though, is it's unparalleled for me. This is like, it hits you up front with that ESB base, and just rounds out with that tartness in the end. But it doesn't linger in the background, which I really like.
What I like about it is it's not super tart and puckery. It's
No, it's not.
subtle.
We dictate a little bit of that by age, and it's not. This is not like zero dry. There's some sugar still in this beer. And also the age of time from basically fermentation to now, it hasn't been enough time to really dry it out to the point where the pH drops that low.
Right.
We are going to have some beers that are going to come out in a few months that are going to be super dry.
Yeah.
But one main objective we have with not only this kind of beer, but is at Sultum, this Citra IPA we already just tasted, we have done, and we're doing right now with some wild yeast, where you have this like really farmhouse kind of funky flavor, but it's fresh and hoppy, which is what Ad Sultum is, and dry.
Right.
And it's this beautiful marriage of like flavors. And
that sounds
it was
awesome.
basically like a crapshoot. We just tried to do it and see what happened, and it works so well. And we're doing things with like white wine yeast and Sultum and some funky, like some Brett and PDO and lactose. So it's kind of tart. It's kind of fruity from some wine yeast. The hops play into it. It's really beautiful. And in about a month from now, we're gonna have some beers coming on that are at Sultum based, with these like really awesome flavors from all these like wild yeast. And a lot of them are like Philadelphia yeast, which is cool because Kirk, who's the guy doing it, has over the years just like taking in wild yeast from outside and like whatever is in his backyard and using a fan to bring air in to kind of inoculate
That's
things.
so cool.
Like,
I love that.
A lot of
so
it is
awesome.
like really it's Philadelphia, like
just
Kensington, fish
native.
town.
Yeah, like that's so cool.
It's the L is here, and then this beautiful yeast off the brake dust is coming off. And
Is that what you think of
inoculate.
when you're driving through Kensington?
Yeah, exactly. So no, it's cool though that we're just trying to really represent so many different things here, but doing them well. Like
That's
whether
awesome.
it's IPAs or English, German, sour beers, which Kirk is kind of instrumental in us doing. As I don't have any experience in it, but him doing it helps us kind of legitimize the whole thing.
So you've done a couple versions of this beer already, right?
So this is one of two blends of this particular beer. This is the less tart version, I'll call it, for lack of a better phrase.
You're right. You're really not good with names.
No, not at all. Not even close.
This is less tart version.
The less tart.
Yeah,
Wait, so what
exactly.
number is it?
This is up and coming 3
3.
on the
Okay.
list, yeah. We
That was an
haven't
untapped
really-
question. Sorry.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Just trying to check it in.
I was trying to be nonchalant about it, but I can't.
So we're basically doing several blends of these beers where like we take this beer, whether it's a Sultum or the Canterbury Bitter, and we're fermenting it differently and blending it with some other beers to create different flavor profiles. And this is just one of many blends we have. And the idea is to not really, it's never the same twice. We're never targeting a specific flavor. It's like just whatever happens, whatever blend we decide on at that point in time is what we do. So it's kind of neat because every week we try to tap a new keg of it, and it's always very different.
I like that idea.
That is awesome.
Like coming in, I like the up and coming. I had number 2. Oh, now
yeah.
number 4 is
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
know?
So you were here when number 2 was on,
Yeah,
right?
I
Which
mean-
was, I believe, it's Sultan based.
Yeah.
I think. I can't remember.
But it's neat for people that maybe like don't know what they want to drink, but they're like, oh, I had number 2. Let's see what number 4 tastes like.
Right,
or let's see
right.
what the
Yeah, definitely.
It's a neat idea.
So hopefully that number is like 150 at the end of the year. That'd be great.
That's when you'll be able to bottle it, right?
Yeah.
By then it'll be off, maybe.
Hope-
And then you'll
Yeah.
have and you'll do like a vertical, like 150.
Yeah. Here's the 150 vertical. That would be awesome.
Wow.
Oh yes. No, I love contrary to my brother who's only now coming around to sour beers, sours and wilds, and I just love that sort of like just like you said, like having the fan, just collecting and cultivating, just like whatever.
Oh yeah. I mean he's got
I really
he's got
like
some
it.
bugs that are. He's brought him back from Belgium. He's brought him in from just the window being open. It's wild in terms of
and I
that,
love
which is
that.
cool because he can take what he has done over the years and kind of introduce him to our work to unfermented beer, and
Right.
like make something totally new.
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
super
and that's
cool.
really cool.
Really, really cool. Yeah.
And I loved the idea of doing I don't know that I've ever had a sour that was an ESB base.
Yeah, so
Like,
you
that's
probably
like-
don't really even consider what
That's
the
a
base
great
is.
point.
Yeah,
I know,
you
I
think
never
of
have,
like
yeah.
what? Oh yeah, it's a sour. It's this or it's
Yeah,
a Flemish
exactly.
or
I
it's whatever.
never really. Yeah.
But the beer going into it is literally the ESB. Just instead of putting it in a fermentation tank and putting Ringwood English yeast into it,
Right.
we're taking it separately, putting it downstairs, and pitching a lot of stuff that's not at all
That's crazy.
Stuff. That's a technical beer term.
Stuff.
stuff. Exactly.
Yes.
It's probably thousands of cultures at this point. Like it's it's kind of evolved into something that it wasn't, originally.
Picture just a writhing mass of strange and multi.
That's
The things
probably pretty
children-
accurate.
faceted.
The things parents try to protect their children from with Lysol
yeah.
wipes.
Yeah, exactly.
We're like, put it in
Yeah.
our beer.
Put it
Wipe
in your beer,
everything
dude.
down.
Absolutely, dude. I'm all about it. That's so cool.
So that is the full gamut of our, I guess, what's a good representation of our beer. The last beer I have for you is at Sultum again, but instead of just the clean fermentation, this is put into a firkin and with fresh mango.
Oh, that sounds
And
fantastic.
it was dry hopped in the fermenter with Citra, which the regular beer is. But then in the firkin we put, I didn't weigh it out, it was probably 8 to 12 ounces of Simcoe hops in 10 gallons.
Ah, yes.
So it's just really juicy, fresh hop. I mean, it's like, this is really good beer. I really love this beer. I don't know how else to describe it.
It smells amazing.
It tastes great. Like the mango's not overpowering, but it's there to make it so different as it needs to be. It's so good.
You know what else is there? Simcoe.
Simcoe.
I think Simcoe though works really well in this beer, and we did another IPA once on the Firkin where we cask conditioned it with Simcoe dry hop, and I absolutely loved it. It was the Simcoe. We did a 2 versions. One was Citra dry hop, one was Simcoe dry hop. The Simcoe was just incredible. It really worked very well in that capacity.
Awesome. You know, and it's funny because the joke is always Simcoe tastes like cat piss or smells like cat piss or whatever, which I don't think is a bad thing.
No, now it's just Simcoe is Wayne's favorite hop.
Simcoe is Wayne's favorite hop. But you know, what's interesting is like with the mango and it kind of in the Firkin, it kind of gets it's almost like cheesy a little bit. You know what I mean?
That's
like
a
sort
interesting
of
description. I mean, I
not like
don't
in a bad way,
yeah,
kind of cheesy, but like you know what I mean, like sort of that nice, sharp, pungenty.
I mean, this is like
pungent would be better than cheesy.
Pungent is probably. I realize
cheesy is typically an adjective that describes old hops.
I know. When I said as soon as I said cheesy, I was like, that sounds really bad. That's not what I mean.
Pungent is more appropriate.
Pungent is what I meant. Yes.
It's like super fresh, pungent, and juicy is like the only
Juicy's
way
a good
to
one.
describe it.
Yeah, nice.
Because the sweetness of the remaining sugars that are in the beer and that fresh hop character is really like highlighted by the beer. You know, pungent is probably the best descriptor I have of this beer. Yeah. But you know, the thing is, we only have it like it's like this is one Firkin. It's probably gone tomorrow, and that's the end of it. And which is cool. It's like it's kind of nice to have some variety where it's like that's the end of this particular beer.
Right.
And then next weekend it's something else.
Something different.
So you do a Firkin every weekend?
Yeah, so I'm trying to build our back stock of cask beer because it takes about 6 days to carve up into cask. Next weekend we're going to tap it's a beer we have on tap now. It's called Brown Eyed Ale. It's somewhere between a brown ale and a porter. But this one's put into the pin with... you guys know Franklin Fountain?
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. Yeah. Sorry.
Who was that? You? Okay.
That was me. Oh, I love that place. I was a huge fan of Man vs. Food when it was on, and I love Franklin Fountain.
So they do all of our ice cream here. So we give them beer, and they make our ice cream with our beer, which
That's
is awesome.
the best deal ever.
You guys should have some, before you leave.
Yes.
It's awesome. But they also now are roasting their own cocoa or chocolate, making chocolate basically, not just buying product. And what as a result of that, when you roast and make chocolate, you have all this. I think they call it chaff that comes off the cocoa nibs, and it has this like incredibly beautiful chocolate aroma. And we used it in a Randall like 2 weeks ago, where we put a stout through a Randall full of this stuff. It was really good. So what we did was we filled a pin of this porter type beer with the nibs of these like chaff, what we call it, and it'll be on a hand pump next weekend.
Oh my God!
But they're like, we're good friends with them, and they're like, oh yeah, like anytime you guys need any of this chaff, we have tons of it.
Wow.
So just come and get it.
Dude,
and
you'll
smells,
be taking an Uber here every weekend.
It smells like the essence of chocolate and stuff.
For that,
nice.
Steph, for that, I will pay for the parking.
Oh, you won't do the free. Oh, you would. Okay. Well, you have done a superb job here as brewer. I am from the first time I walked through the door here. I've been utterly impressed by the beers, and I'm always looking forward to what you're coming up with next. So thank you for bringing life back into this building and this brewing system.
Thank you for having us.
I can't wait to come back.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Dare I ask?
Oh God!
I
was hoping nobody would.
I was kind of too, but I wanted to say it.
But then you said it, so now we have to.
Is this like a common joke theme, or is
this is
this?
what we do at the end.
Sort of.
We pick our favorite beer of the night.
We try to pick a favorite.
I
at
got
least.
it.
I think for the first time, honestly, like legitimately, I don't care if you put a gun to my head or not. I can't pick a favorite.
No, I
I
can't
loved
pick either.
all these beers.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
they were
great to hear.
all
That's
awesome.
very good to hear. Thank you.
Really, all awesome.
And everything, it runs the gamut in such a perfect way. Everything is so different, but so perfect to the style.
I love how we went. I loved how the
The
order of the
whole
beers, just the
progression,
progression.
and
Thank
we
you. That's the
went
word I'm looking for.
It was the perfect
We went from
flavor journey.
local to the West Coast to Germany to England and back, and
And that's what's great. No matter what style of beer you're passionate about or you want to drink, like pretty much you're going to be able to find a beer here that you want.
And what I like
That's
is
the
that
idea. That's the idea.
As much as I like the kitschy, like, beers like the, peanut butter chocolate and this or like, whatever crazy, you're kind of like, yeah, this is really good, but after like, maybe a pint, I'm kind of like, man, all these beers are super drinkable. I could have more than one. Some of them you probably shouldn't because they were a little higher in alcohol, but
well, you could.
You could.
Well, yeah.
But none of them were like flavors that were so like intense in one thing that it was kind of like I would get tired of that. They were all complex and balanced enough.
They were balanced and they stayed true to the style, which is something to be said. You can have those crazy ones like the chocolate and whatever you're going to throw, like the peanut butter with this and that, but when you boil it down, you need the basics to hold all that up, and this is the best way to do it. Every single one that we've had holds up to the basics in such a phenomenal way.
By the way, the name of this episode is Bringing Lager Back. Just saying.
Ooh,
I like that.
I
like that. Write that down.
It hath been written.
I don't often get to name episodes.
John without a microphone approves.
I think it's Drunk John without a microphone.
He's been pounding pretty good.
He has a long ride
when he
from
has left
Reading to
Dude, he's got 4
Allentown.
samples unfinished in front of him.
And he can do that.
He can touch his nose and
rub his
Isn't it
stomach
this?
and.
yeah, it's the patting the
Something
head.
like that.
I think it's just a combination of rubbing something and patting something. Never mind. That sounded
Wow.
bad. That sounded really bad.
New sound clip.
Whoops.
It's that time.
Oh, are you able to do a Sophie's Choice though? Like, what is your favorite beer that you have here?
It's not about favorites. It's about what are you like most proud of, I think.
Yeah.
That's probably the better way to phrase it. And if I have to answer that question, Fritzy's Lager is really like something I'm proud of, I think, and like really enjoy all. Like I drink that any time of the day, any time of the year.
It's a great
Hot,
beer.
cold, doesn't matter.
With pretzels.
With pretzels,
Without
ideally.
pretzels.
Soft
But
pretzels,
better
with
with
cheese.
pretzels.
When the pretzels make you thirsty, you have the Fritzy's Lager,
Yeah.
which makes you want more pretzels.
Yeah, salty pretzels. But then also, at Sultan's a beer I made at home a lot, and I can't make it here as often as I'd like to because we can't get the hops. But that beer itself, I'd like to make more often than I do. And I if I could have Fritz's Lager and at Sultan for the rest of my life on tap, I'd be very happy.
It's a pretty good combo.
It's a good combo.
Yeah.
Very different. They both serve their purpose.
They fit like every mood that you could possibly have. Like if I try to think back, every time that I've wanted a beer, I've craved the style.
Cram one of those into it.
Yeah, one of those will fit the craving, no matter what it is.
Spicy
Exactly.
food and pretzels. That's pretty much what I eat, so it's all good.
Yeah, that's perfect. You're covered.
Now, for
Right.
Steph, you just have to do like a spicy beer, and then she'll be here.
Well, that's
Well,
why I have my Randall Jr.
I
so it's
saw
all good.
y'all did the beer at the Lancaster Brewery, jalapeno something or other.
Oh,
boobies.
Yeah.
Boobies.
Habanero.
Habanero. Yeah.
Habanero. That's right.
I do love myself a spicy beer.
Yeah.
So how did that turn out?
It was really
It was
good.
good.
Yeah,
I liked
spicy.
it. I liked it because it wasn't crazy spicy.
It wasn't Steph
wasn't.
spicy.
Okay.
Steph's really into the super.
Did it have
spicy
like
beers.
habanero flavor?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's what I like. I like to get the
that's
pepper
good.
It
flavor
had the
without-
flavor, some of the heat, but not as
lava in my
crazy as
throat.
some people may want.
Right.
Well, he is putting kegs aside because I'm taking some friends there the end of April, and I'm like, you should put fresh peppers
Just
in.
steal a
some
whole
more in,
keg. Just
yeah.
steal a sixtel and put it back on your kegerator at home.
Yes. And
So you
put 'em-
enjoy spicy
The
everything?
hotter the better. Yes.
Yeah, we had some ghost face killer on our last episode.
Yes, we
recording.
did.
Oh,
Which
that
wasn't-
shit is way
Dude,
too hot.
That wasn't
I had
as
like
bad
this
as I
much,
thought it
and
would be.
can't- She's sitting there downing it like it's friggin' water. It's
It's
crazy.
too spicy,
I
in
don't
my
understand.
opinion.
Like it's
I don't
what?
know how you do it.
Like it's what?
Water.
Okay.
Water.
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 That's all right.
Water.
He's really not. That's the thing.
Oh, he's not.
Berks County.
wrong
Reading.
with you?
I don't know. I said water.
Water.
His brothers lived in Philly for 10 years. That's what's
guess.
wrong with him.
So speaking of Philly, you have
Yes.
some Philly Beer Week
Thank
events.
you. Yeah.
We do, yeah. We don't have the dates confirmed, but at the moment, we know of 3 events we're definitely doing. One is we're hosting Randy Mosher for a night, which is
Nice.
cool. Yeah, it's
He's
gonna
an
be
awesome guy.
Yeah, so he's gonna do a book signing, hopefully a little presentation. We're not charging money for anything. It's like, just come in, probably a free pint on the house for that night, and then cash bar or whatever. We're doing a sour beer night where Kirk, who's the guy who's kind of handling our sour beers and funky beers, is coming in. We're going to hopefully have like 3 to 5 different varieties on tap to kind of taste and kind of see how sour beer is not just X, it can be X, Y, and Z, and A and B, or whatever. It can be very different styles of beer, but they're all sour.
Maybe even some Greek letters.
Maybe even some Greek letters,
Beta,
yeah.
Omega,
Exactly.
something Omega. That's what I was going for. I don't know.
Omega.
I'm sorry, I totally interrupted you with nonsense.
No,
I
it's
apologize.
And then the third thing we're going to do is we have another Dad Tap barrel that's filled with breakfast stout and still the beans from Philly Roasters and vanilla paste. So
I need to be here for that.
we buy this stuff from the food purveyor. Instead of buying vanilla beans, we buy vanilla paste, which is just the scrapings of vanilla beans. And it's like $50 for this jar that's like 4 ounces of vanilla paste, which is like the essence of vanilla. So I was like, I guess I'll just use a couple scoops of this. And I tasted it like a month ago, and it was awesome. It was like really, it was like coffee, vanilla, stout, kind of perfect harmony of flavors. But, like, you don't know, there's no recipes of, like, use 3 tablespoons of vanilla, $50 vanilla paste. Like, it doesn't exist,
But it has to be $50.
It has to be $50, yeah. The $50 kind. The $50 kind.
No more, no less.
I want vanilla paste. What kind? The $50.
$50 kind. Yeah, so that's the third event. Hopefully we get Dad Sat here to kind of talk about the whiskey. And we sell the whiskey
Great
here.
people.
And, like, maybe sell some old fashions or whatever it's going to be. But that's the 3 big events we're definitely doing. Whether it's, what days of the week, I have no idea. But that's the plan right now.
I will be here.
Fantastic.
I will be here
Awesome.
for at least for the vanilla one. I will definitely be here.
Yeah, we'll put it on Facebook.
Unless
and all
it's
that
a
kind of
night
stuff.
that we're working an event, then no, you won't be here.
Yeah,
Or
unfortunately.
we'll be
You
here
two got it,
afterwards.
right?
We'll send one of our interns.
Come anyway.
I don't know if Steph told you, but we're just staying at your house for all of Philly Beer Week.
Hey, I got an extra futon. It's all right. Don't worry.
So Wayne's
If
sleeping
you're
on
the only
floor.
one in Philadelphia, you probably should do that, actually. It
Yeah.
makes sense for you.
I have offered it to them on countless times, but they have a DD, whatever
Yes.
that is.
Whatever that is.
No,
And I have a very comfortable bed.
I condone responsible
comfortable.
drinking
Yeah.
and have a DD. I have to
And a
point
day
that
job
out.
that, like, I do need to get.
Yes.
Yeah,
Pay
see,
my
I
rent.
luck out because my day job is in Philly.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to that. So the online presence for Second Story, it's what, secondstorybrewing.com or?
SecondStoryBrewing.com, it's 2ND.
Yes,
Same
2ND.
goes for Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the same. 2ND Story Brewing.
Okay.
I am the social media guy, and I am trying to do my best, but I am bad at it.
Talk to
I think.
Steph.
You're not
Yeah,
bad.
I try.
We've known worse.
Really? Oh,
Yes.
that's pretty good to hear, though.
Steve Armstrong.
I was
we
going
love
to say
you.
we can name names, but
Oh, he got
Armstrong
better,
Ales?
though.
He's gotten
he got
much better.
Sudden
much better.
improvement. he started.
We love you, Steve.
Does he have an intern now? I have a feeling the intern's just doing it.
So
Or his-
we've
his
seen
girlfriend.
worse
Right.
His girlfriend had
indicate
his
that it's
intern.
bad to begin with.
Yes.
Well, unfortunately, that brings us to the end of another episode of Beer Busters. And I can say this is one of the episodes I've had the most fun recording.
Yes, for
and
sure.
we can't thank you enough, John, for having us out here. This has been so much fun.
I appreciate you guys coming out here.
I will
Seriously.
be back
It's
many
been very
times,
fun.
considering I live about 3 miles away.
You have no
Perfect.
excuse.
Yes.
Yeah, no excuse at all.
Well,
No skookle between you and here.
Or Delaware.
Or don't.
that's right.
Hashtag no Scooggle.
Well, I am Dan Baker, as always, joined by my co-host and brewerologist,
Steph Hefner.
and our from entertainer.
Wayne Baker.
Remember, no squids were harmed in the making of this episode, and until next time, we bid you adieu.
Go ahead, be going with it.
I don't know what that is.